everyone, and welcome. I'm Justin Cater, and in today's video, I'm going to introduce my EverQuest project in Unreal Engine 5, which right now I'm calling EverQuest Revived, or EQR. I want to give a bit of background about why I started this project, and a little bit about my expectations for it. I should say up front that EverQuest and the artistic assets within it are the intellectual property of Daybreak Games, and if there were to ever be a future release of EQR, it would be contingent upon future agreement between myself and Daybreak. I grew up with games like EQ and other classics, but I don't have a background in game development. Recently, I really have started to enjoy modding games using community mods like those in Skyrim or DayZ. And I think it's having exposure to those mods that's really inspired me to learn a game development tool like Unreal Engine 5. Modding games and adjusting small details in them is really enjoyable, but doing a full overhaul of a game with something powerful like a game development engine like Unreal is super rewarding and totally next level. I decided that the best way for me to learn Unreal would be to choose a project right at the outset and learn the engine as I go. Seeing a project progress is what would motivate me personally to keep learning. And choosing EQ was a total no-brainer. The game has a huge nostalgic appeal for me and tons of other people. There are asset extraction tools readily available online. And even though there are tons of game remasters coming out these days, there doesn't seem to be an ongoing EQ Classic remaster project, at least not in Unreal. So my main goal for this channel is to bring you along on my journey to learn Unreal and other useful software. I learn most of what I know from talented developers who share their techniques here on YouTube, so if I can give back by showing how I figured things out, then I'll be happy. Probably most of what you're going to see will be in the context of my EQR project, so you'll definitely be able to expect updates on that front as well. I wanted to thank the 5 dedicated developers over at Lantern EQ for their inspiration and for their open access tools which have made it possible to extract game resources in a nice and self-contained way. Lantern EQ is a project to bring classic EQ into Unity Engine, allowing for an eventual full graphical overhaul. Thanks also to Redbeard Flynn for mentioning my project in your recent video and for inspiring my recent foray into combat sound effects. I've been a fan of your channel for some time now, so thanks. If you're interested in this sort of content and you want to see more, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can visit my Patreon page if you're interested in supporting this educational content. I hope to start posting videos regularly, which will tend to be tutorials on Unreal tasks, Blender plugins, workflows, retexturing, 3D modeling, AI tools, and more. And you can expect me to occasionally zoom out and give EQR project updates too. I'm looking forward to this adventure, and I hope you'll stay tuned. Okay, here we are inside Skeleton, and I added torches to the interior spaces. I really like the way they cast shadows off of furniture and doorways and stuff. So I made them using Niagara inside Unreal Engine 5. But I turned off the light rendering part because rendering light off of the particles is really big performance hit, so I just attached point sources with flicker, and also you can hear crackling. So I added the barbarian male here with the full plate. I'm able to animate these models using auto rig from Actor Core. I'll do a tutorial on that in an upcoming video. Yeah, so you could add animations, and I also added footstep sound effects, which are actually probably too loud here, but I will be tuning those accordingly. And here we have the classic skeleton elevator. This took me quite a while to figure out, but the mouse click events and the UI of the cursor, so it changes color when you mouse over the interactable. But I'll do a video tutorial on that general technique and the Priest of Discord course. Okay, so I added combat for the AI, for the enemies. So
they'll aggro from a distance. They use sight perception and sound perception. That's like a built-in feature for Unreal 5. And so there's a damage system. The target HP bar is a little buggy here, so for whatever reason it doesn't kick in until he's low HP. But the player HP bar is working, and you'll see that tick down as I get hit. And it's funny, you are hearing an airplane in the background. That's from the nighttime cricket sounds I got from freesound.org. And ultra dynamic sky to change the time of day, just so we can see better what's going on here. Y'all don't have day-night cycle. Yeah, and a little death animation using the original sounds from those mobs from the classic sound files. Yeah, and all the sound effects for the footsteps are from freesound.org. So there's a footstep sound, and then I've got like a chain rattling sound, and like pots and pans essentially for the metallic clanking of the armor. And what you're seeing me do here is interactively change the time of day using ultra dynamic sky again, as I mentioned. And I'm changing the weather using ultra dynamic weather. And these can be in an automatic procedural mode. You can set the season, the day-night cycle, length, etc. Okay, so I have the daylight, clear sky setting on, so you can see that the material or texture of the armor has a metallic sheen to it, sort of giving off specular reflections, which is a bit more convincing than the original flat texture of the original game. Yeah, we love the starry sky and the view of the city from below. Yeah, the animations are a little rough right now. Like I said, the rigging tool is awesome. It's free, it's very powerful. But there are a lot more settings that can be tweaked that I will tweak. And I love the first-person view, being able to look down and see your character's, arms and feet and everything. Really gives it an immersive effect. And I am currently experimenting with some VR functionality. So the current challenge is just rigging the character mesh for VR input. That's a whole project in and of itself. You can also see the target HP bar shows the name of the currently clicked target. Yeah, and then we can nuke them from a distance, and it will cause them to aggro. And right now this is totally interactive, real-time combat, not RPG style. It's not auto attack, so that'll be programmed in pretty soon. So this is me just hitting like the Q key to attack. So he'll swing the weapon every time I hit the button. I think there's a lot more that can be done to make the combat more smooth. So I'm using the original spell effect sprites, and I'm adding a light render to those particles, and I think it gives off a really cool effect. sort of has a minimal appearance, not like that garish look that you get in more modern games. But it's hard to know, how to evaluate something like that stylistically when it's at the intersection of nostalgia, subjective taste, etc. So I think this is where the guiding principle that I'm going with comes into play, and that is keep as much of the original art in place as possible. But I think there's plenty of room for improvement, because the original developers were limited by the technology of the time and, from my understanding, a pretty serious time crunch. So things like trees and, blocky polygonal walls like you see here can be updated and will be. Okay, so this is obviously not classic because we're now not in Crushbone. So I just wanted to showcase Halas, or Hallis, or however you pronounce it, the barbarian home city. So really all I've done here is change out the trees, some of the textures for the walls, and put up light sources. Again, the same torches. And with adding the weather, there's hardly else you really need to do to make this thing shine. I will say, though, that some of the shadows coming from the light sources are pretty severe, high contrast. I'd like to fix that. If anybody knows how, put your suggestion in the comments. That'd be really helpful. Yeah, and so one of my favorite things is coming inside of a building where ultradynamic weather understands you're inside of a structure or underground or something, and it attenuates the weather sound effects on the outside. Gives it a really convincing feeling that you're sheltered. I always thought this little area was kind of cool. Didn't really have to do much to it, just added a lantern effect and that overhead light. Okay, so now I turn the lights on. You can see the city in light of day. So I put a character model here with the original textures for the armor on the right versus the updated textures on the left. I used a really awesome program to add normal UV mapping to the textures. It affects the way the light hits it as if it's three-dimensional. And as I said earlier, you can add a metallic sheen to it. And I do plan to upload a video walking you through that process of updating some of these old textures. I'm a big fan of the snow tracks effect from ultradynamic weather. The way that they kind of scatter and reflect light is really pretty impressive. Super realistic looking, I'd say. So my workflow right now for this whole thing is to work on individual aspects of what would be a full game. So the animations, the combat system, the damage system, spell effects, sound effects, lighting, being able to read in original game assets. Learning how to do each of those things one by one. You know, I was first doing some of those things in the State of Unrest zone, and I just got bored of doing that stuff there, so I moved into Greater Fadark, where I learned how to do some more things, continue to, and then I got bored of that area, so I imported this area, and this is where I sort of was tinkering with the torchlight effects. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this update. Please look forward to more. I'll be trying to fill out some of these areas with NPCs and maybe figure out how to do interactions between the character and the NPCs, maybe like a looting system, inventory, UI, things like that, and maybe another zone reveal. So those trees, obviously this won't have trees in the distance there. It'll be something different, and I'll showcase that later too. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again next time.